What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and a very interesting potential data leak or employee leak about Cyberpunk 2077, both what was in and out of the game, as well as a wide variety of interesting news, which I'm going to share with you, as well as Cyberpunk just pumping out the hot fixes just before Christmas, or just days before Christmas. We got hotfix 1.06 available both on PC and console, and that fixed a myriad of issues. And I will admit, I've been playing the game more on PC, and while PC didn't have an absolute ton of errors to begin with, it did improve things, including fixing the 8 megabyte save file limit. Of course, that not saving initial issues. You have a Dum-Dum will no longer go missing from Totentan's entrance during the second conflict. Console-specific improved memory management and stability, resulting in fewer crashes. I mean, that's pretty specific and a good thing to see. You know, personal. In spite of all the negativity around the game, CD Projekt Red developers are working extraordinarily hard to try and fix things, including Cyberpunk 2077 website promised free DLC in early 2021, but don't bet on that, quote, soon. In my opinion, Cyberpunk 2077 isn't quite the disaster some have suggested. The game is fun, and the bugs are fun. The bugs that really weren't fun have been patched. Refunds were made widely available, and despite the refund option, the game still sold 13 million copies in 2 weeks. But publisher CD Projekt Red still has a broken reputation to fix and an investor lawsuit to fight, so I wouldn't put you stock in the headline that you may have read today that we're all getting free DLC in the game by early 2021. Now, free DLC for the game is an absolutely super strong way to get good customer goodwill from your customers. We saw this with Ghost of Tsushima and many other games. Free DLC is pretty amazing. As Engadget points out, the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine shows that the promise may have been live on the internet on the same day the game launched, before the outcry began, and definitely before CD Projekt Red held an emergency conference call on December 15th to discuss how the company would react. On that call, CD Projekt Red president and co-CEO Adam Kaczynski told investors that it was way too early to judge when the company might be able to release DLC. Specifically, he was asked, how do you feel about your ability to release a couple of DLCs next year and obviously multiplayer in 2022? CD Projekt Red had previously said that the multiplayer would be available in would miss 2021. Now, this is a bizarre thing to me. To have to be considering waiting, another year to play multiplayer on this game. Like, how many people are going to want to come back to the game just for the multiplayer? Now, we know Grand Theft Auto 5 was able to do that, so it's not impossible. And then you see Cyberpunk 2077 players mod causing NPCs to explode spontaneously. A modder on Twitter has created a Cyberpunk 2077 mod that either deliberately or accidentally makes the game's NPCs spontaneously explode. I do like that, the modding is going well. I'm glad that, people can make the best of it and they're not blocking it like some companies. And then, this article here, Lawrence Maldonado writes, Cyberpunk 2077 is basically an early access game. Its release has hallmarks of a game released in an unfinished state, prompting a comparison to a game released in early access. True. Now, and we've already seen great strides moving forward in terms of fixing things and improving people's experience. Cyberpunk's release and current plans have become akin to the pre-release version of the title. CDPR's ambitious follow-up to The Witcher 3 has seen scrutiny for numerous aspects of its development, but the criticism has reached a fever pitch as it relates to the game's launch. Numerous bugs, glitches, and problems with the game's programming have led to CD Projekt Red reevaluating its release schedules, delaying DLC and multiplayer content drops, while promising fixes for the real critical issues. Now, this should be, again, you should never release in the state, that goes without saying, but credit where credit is due. Some companies would just blow past this and pump out multiplayer as quick as they can, because that's where the hundreds of millions turn into billions of dollars. One of the biggest issues Cyberpunk's current state is the lack of transparency from CD Projekt through the course of the development. CDPR made a promise earlier in the development that its developers would not be forced into mandatory crunch. Okay, if you're talking about crunch, I'm over that article. Now, here is an alleged CD Projekt Red developer talks about the state of Cyberpunk 2077 and future plans. Now, in my opinion, this is very suspect. Again, this is akin to, basically a Chan post and accepting it true. But it is interesting to read here. Now, this was on GameFAQs, taken from a thread where a supposed CDPR developer was speaking anonymously. This is also very hush-hush, but I'm fed up with this stuff, so I'll disclose a few details. CD Projekt Red hurt themselves to keep investors safe and sound. Now devs are hearing plans of a No Man's Sky style comeback due to late June. The first two patches should come out in mid-March. Despite what's been said by top executives, there will be major departures from the studio in the coming months. Dev morale is at an all-time down, and Sony is roasting our butts due to the gigantic amount of refund requests. There will be a meeting today with Sony execs to figure out a way to compensate players threatening legal action. Sony Japan is specifically furious. More to come in the coming weeks. Feels terrible, man. There's no finger pointing as of now. Word on memos comes from the top. The directors and senior devs are taking the flak for the team on what I call a, quote, honorable move. Just so you know, we still joke about a quest that got rewritten more than a dozen times because a certain top dog wasn't, quote, feeling it. It ended up being cut from the final product and should come as a later DLC. There's people that get hired for whatever reason and stay in the company due to being trusted by the top dogs. A good chunk of code is getting scrapped and rewritten from scratch. The intended game might be ready in June 2021. It's already done and ready since February. It didn't get implemented because of a major UI bug that is still present in retail copies. If you open your .dat files, you'll find a lot of scrapped content is still there. If you want a refund, please ask for it. It positively impacts us devs. We've been warned that leads millions of times about this kind of stuff. Most cosmetic overhauls should be ready by the second big update. Now, interestingly enough, you see this. Address the cutout content as well. If they see you guys would be asking for this stuff to be put back in the game, we might actually make the game we intended back in 2018. There used to be a huge underground part of the city that the public never got to see because it, quote, looked ugly, according to executives. It was effing awesome, and it felt like the Malkvane Nosferatu path on Vampire Masquerades. I don't want to hate on Keanu, but holy cow, our original Johnny was way cooler and sounded like a maniac. Think Foltest on crack. I don't appreciate his acting either, but he's a very nice man. Walked up to us personally to greet us on the first day and took time to personally thank us one by one when they wrapped up recording. The word his fee was actually manageable, and the need for star talent to come outside of CDPR, the execs compiled because who the F knows, it sucks. Our original Johnny was heavily inspired by David Hayter's Solid Snake from the first Metal Gear Solid, and believe it or not, Cillian Murphy. There's a whole AI routine with minor gang behavior in those areas, stuff you could sit back and watch unfold or directly influence. There was a lot of use with kids that eventually got cut due to censorship. There were priests and Hare Krishna side arcs that got cut due to censorship. Miles wrote a side quest where Max Tac officer offed himself and you could take its place, but it created such a complex detour from everything tonally that got cut as well. Hope it comes back because it felt amazing to get into their headquarters and hack stuff. You'd see the police trying to operate and breaking down mid-arrest due to your shenanigans. Might sound weird, but the disaster launch was actually something beneficial from our perspective. A cold shower sets priorities straight, so we're able to resume work on what was originally intended without having those people breathing down our necks to publish. Now, a lot of people say that, oh, this doesn't seem real because of the coarse language. Why? I mean, this is how people talk, right? I believe it was due to miscommunication and leads not setting goals like they should. The game was jumbled together for 2019's E3. The latest dev comp before the scrap was 160 gigs alone. There should be some whistleblowing in the coming weeks as if the step downs. Sorry. Series X was a mere rewrite of code with and load orders. Next Gen's architecture is actually very good for what ports. It's company policy to release a game runs without debug hitches. And the reason why it did baffle me is this thread. It's a mix of hubris and deep incompetence. We've scrapped 2 whole arcs because of the mission cleaned a save due to a bug with a character placement. We've also scrapped a big portion of underground and sewers because of bugs. Night City had 3 different types of cab besides Villefort, and drivers would hold whole conversations, give quests, and that also had to be scrapped. Police pathfinding script worked wonderfully until someone screwed the pooch, and all I know is it's already being fixed. It was a major oversight, of course. Morgan Blackhand's backstory and a nod to the corporate wars. The DLC will add a lot of the crazy and cool ideas Mike gave us when we began briefing the project. I assume that means Mike Pondsmith. You guys should have the complete game by the end of the year if everything goes well. I really got to go now. Take care. Now, a lot of people, legit or not, this is what I actually expected from the game. Lots of people expected. I'd be really skeptical of this. The quote about being locked in rooms, being lootable, is a huge red flag to me. I always thought that the locked doors being just slightly more immersive way of being blocked off in inaccessible areas. There's no way they could create or fit a much explorable interior area. This is all, essentially a Chan post. If it's true, it certainly sounds plausible and maybe a good reason to hold off on playing this game till next Christmas. Let things shake out, work on your backlog a little bit. Or if you already played it, reason to hope that you will have a good reason to replay it later with possibly some free DLC and a lot of the cut content put back in. Either way, it's an interesting read. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.